Previously on 1 Minute Rundown.
Star Fox 2 is the direct sequel to Star Fox. It's a pity this game may never see the light of day.
Wait, who are you, and what are you doing at my computer?
Who was that guy that reviewed Star Fox 2?
Not sure. He never gave me his name.
I've come to reclaim the one known as Octrinity.
Wait a sec, that was the same guy? Well, how did I miss that?
See what happened to him soon.
Gaming reviews done quick. Clearly, these reviews have boost power. Welcome to the 1 Minute Rundown. I'm Octrinity, your host, and I'm setting this review about 3.5 units on the max speed side. This time we're running down F-Zero. That's a racing game from Nintendo set in the far future with tracks that are several miles long and racing in hovercraft whose max speed frequently goes above the sound barrier. Unlike most racing games, however, beating the other racers or the clock wasn't the only concern, as even finishing a race without crashing or falling off the track wasn't guaranteed, which instantly ended the race. These games have a tendency to show off some pretty impressive for the time effects, with the early games showing off tracks that rotated your driver's perspective, while the 3D albums were based on raw speed with an unusually large set of computer-controlled challenges. Of course, nowadays people tend to remember this series entirely because of its lead character, Captain Falcon, more famously known for his portrayal in the Smash Bros. Games. So let's take a look at his origin series. This episode will cover 5 games, so strap yourself in and get ready to ride. The first game has some very basic rules. It's a 5-lap race where you get a turbo boost after finishing each lap. The main game has you selecting one of 4 racers and going through 5 tracks based on your circuit, aiming to finish each lap in a certain rank in order to pass, assuming you survive. So it feels more like a classic arcade game than a more traditional racing game. Unfortunately, I can't help but feel they went a little too light on the content. There are 15 tracks, and 5 of them are simple variations of existing tracks. With only 4 playable characters, you would also expect there to be a lot more balancing on them, but it does feel like 1, maybe 2 don't measure up. The lack of any multiplayer mode is disappointing. I'm also not a fan of having computer-controlled racers that don't seem to follow the same rules as you, the player, as it feels like no matter what I do, the rival racers are right on my tail. In spite of my complaints though, this is a fun game, just one that is a bit dated and won't hold a lot of replay value. You know those console launch games that seem to exist mostly to show off what the console can do? Looking back, this might have been just another example of this. Here's another sequel that manages to expand on everything. The number of playable characters jumped from 4 to 30, all of which race simultaneously, with the extra characters including some cameos from other series you may recognize. Also, yeah, you can set your max speed and acceleration on that sliding scale before each race. Boosts have been reworked so you can use them continuously after the first lap, but the energy to use them comes out of your vehicle's energy, making excessive use of it dangerous. We've now got 24 tracks, which are more varied from each other and make good use of the third dimension. Also appearing as a random track generator, but that tends to generate more generic tracks than good ones. And there are some aggressive maneuvers that allow you to directly attack and eliminate other racers. So sure, it's a definite improvement, and if you've got friends that are into racing games, it's one that's sure to provide a lot of multiplayer fun for your local game night. But it's not without its faults. With the number of characters here, you'll get a few that feel too similar to each other. And this, even then, it's still hard to even give an enthusiastic recommendation for, simply because of the sequel ups its ante on everything. Oh yeah, we're doing this one first. Never mind that part. This one's not an improvement. See, the Game Boy Advance can't really do 3D all that well, so this is closer to the first, and unfortunately, it also has a lot of the same issues, to the point where I could copy and paste most of my commentary over. There's again not a huge number of tracks involved, but they at least avoid clone tracks, and the track design is usually better than the first game. And the addition of unrestricted practice mode and multiplayer is certainly appreciated. That said though, it's also a lot harder for the wrong reason. Most of the vehicles are very hard to control, with a lot of them frequently skidding into the walls, again making nearly half the cast unplayable without lots of practice. Also, this one opts for a new set of characters and locations entirely, and it would have been nice to get at least some familiar territory. One-player mode still has the same rubber banding AI, and again I get the feeling this was another launch title showing off skills that aren't all that impressive anymore. F-Zero fans looking for something to play on the go might enjoy this one, but I think that's as far as the target audience goes. Okay, so as I was trying to say before, F-Zero X was a great case of an all-around improvement sequel, and this manages to improve on that. They got the team behind Super Monkey Ball to help with this one, and the end result is that the tracks this time are so creative and well-designed that the other games look generic by comparison. The cast size has increased yet again, reaching 41 by the time you've unlocked everything, and the subtle differences between characters seem more pronounced to the point that everyone does handle a little bit differently. There's also a story mode now, following Captain Falcon through some of his bounty hunting work. It's short and artificially made longer by being really, really hard, but enjoyable nonetheless. Really, this is one of the more technical racing games out there, in part due to your vehicle responding to even the slightest touch of the control stick. This led to one of my controllers being worn out, actually. That said, it's a shame this one didn't catch on more than it did, because it's one of the GameCube's more overlooked gems, and a game racing fans should definitely play, and one racing non-fans should still give a fair chance to. F-Zero spun into an anime series, and this is the game of the anime of the game. It's also a pretty good merging of the two-dimensional and three-dimensional styles of previous F-Zero games, having taken the general track design and engine from the 2D games with the techniques from the 3D games, including boosting from vehicle energy, attacking other vehicles, and the max speed slider. That said, though, the tracks don't seem all that well suited for the continuous boosting style we've seen in the 3D games, as if they were designed with the 1 turbo per lap style of other games without changing the general shape too much. But the fact is, they're usually designed better than the previous 2D games too, and feature some classic tracks as a bonus. As you might expect, it's also got a story mode here, which follows multiple characters, none of which are all that long and mostly just repeat content from the usual Grand Prix mode, and there it feels like the story itself only works if you assume any kind of fighter dispute can be settled with an F-Zero race. Overall, though, this is an improvement over not only the previous GBA game, but also the original SNES game too, but not so much over either of the 3D games. And that's all for F-Zero. There are a few games I missed, though. Japan got a few more games, including an expansion of the original F-Zero through an early downloadable game service, a track editor for F-Zero X, and another GBA game based on the anime, F-Zero Climax. The Virtual Boy was also supposed to have a sequel of sorts, but the system tanked before we ever saw that. There's also the arcade game F-Zero AX, the content of which is one of the last unlockables in GX, but good luck finding any of those. Actually, good luck unlocking that the usual way, too. That's going to require a lot of patience. F-Zero has been surprisingly dormant since 2004, with nothing new announced. The closest we've had are the cameos in Smash Bros. And a minigame in Nintendo Land. However, at least one Nintendo designer has stated in an interview that he would like to see the series return on the Wii U. For the collectors out there, this is an easy one to find, and for those looking for something similar, Wipeout seems to be the closest we've had to an alternate console equivalent.
Excuse me.
Wonderful, someone else is trying to... Wait a minute, aren't you one unknown player?
Yep.
Then you're not here to kill me.
No.
Are you reviewing that cancelled game I mentioned?
No, I just heard I left a USB drive here.
Oh, yeah, it's in the other room. But, actually, I was thinking while you're here, you do seem to have a way of finding games that didn't actually get released here. Think you can help me find some?
Sure, I guess so. What are you looking for?
I got a list here.
And what's in it for me?
Oh, what would you like for them? I have some money if that's what you're after.
Actually, I had something else in mind. What's it take to get a co-hosting gig here?
Huh. So, you co-host one of these episodes, and you hook me up with some games I'd otherwise have to acquire by questionably legal means.
Yep.
In that case, how's this next episode sound? Nintendo's taking a different athletic competition?
That silhouette is...
Come on, don't spoil the surprise.
Alright, have yourself your deal.
Alright, in that case, check back soon for it. We will both see you then, and until next time... I couldn't figure out a good F-Zero quote to end this with. You got anything?
Well, technically, this is Smash, right? So, how about show me your moves?
Sure. Until next time, show me your moves.